Otzrot Chaim, Sha'ar ha'akudim, Perek Aleph. This is now the gate of akudim. We're going to translate it as we read because it's part of the reading what it means. ואחר כך באו הטעמים התחתונים שמתחת האותיות. So now we're up to the ta'amim of the lower ta'amim, which is under the letters, and this is the ben of the av of the sag, if you remember. והם בחינות האורות היוצאים דרך הפה של אדם קדמון משם ולחוץ. And these are going to be the aspects of the lights that's coming out through the mouth of Adam Kadmon, from there and out. So now again, just to recap, we had the ears, the nose, and the mouth, and we said those are the three ta'amim, top, middle, and lower, sag, ma, ben, all of the av part of the larger sag, which is the sag HaKelali, if you remember. Now, just to throw in method of Rabbi Kessin, whenever there's a chance to demonstrate it, I like to do it. Why mention the mouth before? We didn't get up to the mouth, only now. But if you remember, by just comparing it and seeing the whole picture, by saying the ears, even when we were at the ear level, I told us the ears do this and the nose does that, and eventually we're going to get to the mouth, showing the picture of the whole thing. And then we appreciated the ears and the nose and now the mouth. That's why you have to see the whole picture sometimes in order to appreciate one of the pieces of a puzzle. So you have to do that in your own learning. I said it to you, but if you were just reading from the book, you wouldn't know about the nose and the mouth until you got to it. So you wouldn't be able to make a picture for yourself to understand the ears at the ears level time. You wouldn't know yet. You would only know at the mouth time, which is now. Oh, there's three things, and the ears and the nose and the mouth, you know how the lights are coming out. You know, something in that manner. So again, structure is very important. It shows the relationship, each piece to its other pieces. That's what you want to see as a whole. And then you'll understand each piece of that whole as it relates to all the other pieces. That's the idea. So as a teacher, a teacher can try and do that for you if he knows it. But again, if you're going to be self-taught in some way, you have to also try and do it on your own. Sometimes in a Mishnah, you won't know that there's three things until you learn them. So you're going to be lost on number 1 and number 2 until you get to number 3 and put them all together. But that's how it goes. You have to do little pieces at a time, and then you make your own structure as you can. And if not, others will be there, God willing, to do it for you. Again, structuring is for any area of learning. So let's continue. So now we see what's happening with the mouth here. Everything's going to come out now. Like we said, letters, aleph, bet, if you remember, we said that before. V'hine kan, and here, netchaberu orot hayotzim chibur gamur. It's coming out the lights and they're connecting now. And they're coming out fully meeting each other, chibur, touching. Ki hare hem yotzim derech sinur echad bilvad. And they're coming out through one pipe only, meaning the mouth. It's coming out through one place. V'hata'am, the reason, ki kol ma shehaorot mitrachakim umitpashetim lemata. As the light gets further from the kav, which is on top, it's all in the kav, but further from the top, meaning, and it's spreading down, kach yesh yecholet lahasigam ulkabelam. Now we're able to grasp them and to receive them, to accept them. They won't make us melt like a plastic cup with all this hot stuff in the cup. We're now on the level, since it's further down, and it's less hot, so to speak, and less pure in that way. So now we're able to take it, and all this is needed to get to the world down here. All this is so God can give us the light and the shefa, the bounty, and the world even, down here. This is just showing how we go from up there to get to down here. It's all buffers and buffers till we can handle it down here so that we have a test of life. We need this world that we're in to be in for free will. So this is showing how we're getting there. So it all started from up there. It was high, high, high. Now it's getting low, low, low so that we can start building the worlds and the world that eventually we're in. Worlds meaning Abiyah, which is going to be Atzilut as the beginning. But that's all part of Olam Hazeh, like we said. These are higher places right now because it didn't make any vessel. It didn't make a world, so to speak, meaning. Atzilut will be the first world, and that's coming out soon from this Akudim, really the next one, Nikudim, but we'll get to that. Maybe we'll explain a little as we go too, like we said. Velachen, en chashash im nitchaberu orot hamakifim im hapenimiyim. Now we're not worried that the two lights are going to meet each other, because we want them to. That's what's going to happen. That's how you're going to make the vessel. Before we were worried because, not that we were really worried, meaning we realized it couldn't happen because it's going to melt everything, so to speak, again, kivayachol. But here we're not worried about that. This is how we're going to make the world. Hashem's doing it, obviously, meaning the two lights, the surrounding lights and the inner lights are going to meet. Again, it's called batisha, banging or hitting. Some say like the Big Bang Theory they get from this, because that's when the world started. There was a bang, but it's Hashem's bang, not that it happened on its own. V'hine kevan shekvar nitchaberu haorot hamakifim v'apniyim yachad. Now, since the two lights came together, lachen hitchil kan lehitavot b'chinat kelim. Now we're going to start to see the makings and the existence, like havot, to be, lihiyot, bechinat kelim, the aspects of vessels. Now we're going to see them come out from the mouth. Of Adam Kadmon, meaning, not our mouth. We're just an example again. Ella shehem zachim betachlit hazikuch. But they're very, very pure. Even though it's a keli, don't think it's something so coarse. It's still a pure light. Kemoshe neba'er, like we're going to explain. But the reason we say this, the rabbi says this, is because something's going to happen because of this. L'fichach, therefore, because it's such a zach, pure light, adain lo nitgala kan, so it's not going to be really revealed here yet. Rak bechinat keli echad bilvad. You're only going to get one vessel. Aval ha'orot hayu nechlakim la'asara. But the lights are still going to be divided into 10. Because we know there's 10 vessels and 10 lights, the 10 sefirot, which is in every world. Even the ear world, we saw it. But the keli now, you think the mouth is going to have kelim, but it's still a high world in a sense. So even the keli we think it's not going to make 10, because of its high and lofty level, it's only going to make one keli. But the ore, all the 10 ores are going to be in it. Now, just like the ear, we said all 5 and 10 and everything's in it. It's just like looking at the star, you can't see it. The same thing here. There really are 10 vessels in the mouth, coming from the mouth. It's just, it looks, because it's so far high up still, it looks like only one. And this would be the keter. Of course, the keter, the highest one, is the one that's seen, so to speak, seen. And the 10 lights are in it. Now we're going to see about the word akudim. Ve'elu ha'orot nikraim akudim. These lights are called akudim. Perush, which means ha'anyanhu. The meaning is like the pasuk. Now, Yaakov, when he was working for Lavan, for his 2 wives, it says in Parashat Vayetze, which is Bereshit Lamed Aleph, Pasuk Yod, 31:10, and also in 31:12 it repeats, because Hashem is telling Yaakov what the narrative said before through the malach in the dream. But anyway, so let's see now, back to the text here. It says, Va'esa enai va'ere b'chalom. I raised my eyes and I saw in a dream, V'hine ha'atudim ha'olim al hatzon. The he-goats, which is atudim, which were olim, meaning mating, on the sheep, they were akudim, nikudim, ubrudim. These three words. Now, the way we understand it in the Chumash, it says they were ringed, speckled, and checkered. Now, another translation of them says it this way: banded, dotted, and spotted. Now, let's just take them for a second. Akudim means bounded up, also like Akedat Yitzchak. Yitzchak was bounded up. Now, what it means for the mouth and the lights, it means they're all bounded up together, meaning not separating. So that's what it means, all together in the mouth. So that's what akudim means. Now, these translations that we had here, that one said that it was ringed, so a ring, and then one said banded. So you could think like a rubber band, which is like a ring, meaning that's how the sheep looked, with little rings on them, or bands, rubber bands type of things. Now, rubber band makes you think of making a lot of things and putting them into one place. You know, when you bound things with the rubber band, many things in one. So ring means that. To be ringed or banded means to make them all be in one place. So the translation does fit. Now, nikudim is like nikudot, the dots. That's why it said dotted. That's the right word, really, dotted. Even though another one said speckled, but I guess little speckled dots. And we're going to see the world of nikudim is going to be how we learn about the nikudot that's attached to Hashem's names, all the nikudot that we have. And that's going to be the beginning, really, of Atzilut. After this akudim, which is the mouth, this is the end of the achav. Aleph, ears, nose, mouth, like we said. That's akudim, is the mouth part. Then we're going to see that the vessel is going to be made, and that's going to be the Atzilut, which is nikudim. Now, why are they calling nikudim Atzilut? Because it's not really Atzilut yet, because the world broke. That's the famous breaking of the vessels. And then the birudim, which means spotted or checkered, meaning it's one thing to have a little dot on the sheep, dots, little dots, but then a spot is maybe like a little bigger dot, so to speak. So just to picture it. And what that refers to is also Atzilut as it's being and as it's repaired. And then we're going to see the real Atzilut with all the partsufim, Atik, Arich, and Abba ve'ima, and all that going down to Malchut and Asiya and all that. So that's how this book of the Otzrot Chaim and Etz Chaim is going. If you see there's a few chapters here, it's going to be these, what we just talked about. A bunch of chapters making up a chunk of the book. And then it's just other things that's still related to the worlds, which we'll see. So this is, again, structuring for you a little bit of the whole thing before we get to it all, just so you could see the whole picture of it again. See, it's always important to see the picture, and then you see where we're up to at the moment. Vegam ketiv, it also says there in the pasuk, Ki ra'iti et kol asher Lavan oselach. The angel of God is telling Yaakov, I see everything Lavan is doing to you. After he mentioned the akudim, nikudim, ubrudim. Now, what does this have to do with anything? Ube pasuk zeh ramuz. This pasuk is hinting to kol bechinot ha'elu she'anu medabrim kan. It's talking about all the things that we're talking about here. How's that? Ki Lavan hu sod haloven ha'elyon. Lavan is really the secret of the high white place. Asher hu kodem kol ha'atzilut hazeh, which is before these worlds of Atzilut. Before that is Adam Kadmon. So Lavan, his source, and he's connected to this big world of Adam Kadmon, that high up, his soul is connected to. V'hu haya oseh kol elu habechinot, and he was doing all these aspects. Meaning, Lavan, we'll explain in a second, he was playing around with all these concepts of the higher places. Shehem akudim, nikudim, ubrudim, letzorech ha'atzilut, sheyatzilu acharehem, for the purpose of making atzilut, and that it will come out of it, after them. Asher hu nekra b'shem Yaakov, that it's the name Yaakov. The name Yaakov is another name for atzilut, which we'll see in another place that it talks about it. That's Yaakov's name as Yaakov. And Lavan has to do with the higher worlds. Now, what does this mean? He's playing around with the Kabbalah to help Yaakov, so to speak. It's all like making tikkunim down here. It's not that Lavan is making the worlds. These worlds were here ready from creation. But they're making tikkunim in the world, like even us. Even us today, we're continuing rectifying the worlds. Now, why is Lavan rectifying anything? I thought he was a big wicked man. He's not rectifying anything. But no, the idea is any wickedness of a person is his free will. But he's still sourced somewhere in Shamayim. We all have a spot that we came from. Lavan is of the highest order. And that shows what his potential was. You know, when you have a guy like Hitler, Yamach Shemo, may his name be erased, he couldn't gather all those people like that and become such a leader if he wasn't a powerful soul. He was a powerful soul. He just did powerfully evil things. So Lavan also, he was a powerful soul. That's why he's really one of the villains, even bigger than Paro, like we say. So he was of the highest place in Shamayim. He could have done that much good, and he could have done that much evil. He also had the people in his hands. You know, when he was making the weddings, he made everybody do something so they all paid for the weddings for his daughters. You remember the Midrash? So look how he knows how to manipulate all the people. He was like a leader of his time. He was a giant of a leader. He could have done it a good way or in a not good way. He chose his path. But every tzaddik and rasha come from wherever they come from, in the higher world. So he comes from the highest, by Adam Kadmon, whatever again that means, that he's connected there. Now, what kind of tikkunim is he doing? It said he made all these tikkunim, so to speak, to help Yaakov in that sense. So he did, because even a rasha, we always say the principle, even an evil person will do the will of God at the end. Everyone's going to do the will of God at the end. You're only either going to get rewarded for it or you're going to get punished for it. But everybody's going to do their job. So Lavan, whatever he did and all his manipulation, he was also making the tikkunim, but he did it through manipulation, and he'll get punished for it. But it still worked out. Hashem has the Reshaim also making the world go in the way it's supposed to. So he was Oseh Kol Elu HaBechinot, like it said. He was doing all these aspects and helping Atzilut to come about. Not that it's to come about. This was already here in creation, like we said. But again, to make a tikkun of whatever had to be in Atzilut. Like today, we're also fixing up things, like we said. And this is the name Yaakov. So really, Lavan was helping Yaakov, whether he realized it or not. And that's why his name is Lavan, white. White is of the highest light, where you can't even see the other lights in it, because it's white. White light is the highest light. And the Matok Midvash comments, why does it say Atudim, he-goats, like from the word Atid? Because it's a remez to the lights, the inner lights, which will eventually in the Atid, in the future, have a kelim over it. So it's like referencing the lights. And it says, Ha'olim alatzon, that are going on the tzon. Shehem, this is referencing or alluding to the kelim that's going to be a body. So again, it's just showing the whole thing here. And then they're going to be the three things. Akudim, because that's coming out from the mouth. Nikudim, ubrudim. So it's really the whole story here. Now you could say also, it says, Hashem says, I see everything Lavan is doing to you. So Lavan oselach, you can read Lavan, which is the top, like Adam Kadmon, because we said he's connected there. Ose is Asiyah. So from top to bottom, Lach is for you, Yaakov. From Lavan to Ose is Lach, is for you. So again, recapping and showing the whole design of the creation is really in all these Pesukim here. And what the Etz Chaim and the Otzrot Chaim is really about is, in many ways, this is the source of it, these Pesukim. And about the white light, the Maktok Midvash also says that when it says it was white light, Lavan is called the Loven Ha'elyon, Lefi She'en Bo, which is Adam Kadmon level, En Bo Shum Hasaga. You can't understand anything there. Mechamat Tokef Ubehirut Loven Oro HaGadol. Because of its, again, bright white light. Like when you look into a bright white light, you don't really see anything. Just like the level of Ak, it's there, but from down here's perspective, we really can't see anything in it. It's just reserved for later to see when we live in it. But it is the shoresh, like we say, the root of everything that's going to come out after. So again, all these ideas are explained. Ve'etchil ba'akudim, the Torah starts with akudim. Right, it just said akudim, nikudim, ubrudim. Why in that pasuk it didn't say more before to reference the nose and the ear? Even though when we said from the word lavan, but that's like too much just remez. But here it's clearly saying the world. So why didn't it say something before akudim? So it started with akudim world, kihem ha'orot hayutzot min hapesh shel adam kadmon, because these are the lights that are coming out of the mouth of Ak, asher bahem hitchil gilui havayat hakelim, which is from this place starting the revelation of the existence of the kelim, of the vessels. Lihiyot asara orot elu pinimiyim umekifim, which these are the 10 lights of inner lights and surrounding lights, mechubarim umkusharim yachad, that they're all connected and attached, betoch keli echad, in one vessel, which we said is the keter. Now, how can they be in a vessel if we said they're surrounding lights? It should surround the kli. But these are both inside. So we have to just mention here, as we're going to learn on later, there's 2 types of surrounding lights. One surrounds it on the outside, which is what we learned before. It's like the general surrounding, haklali, and the pirati, a individual still surrounding light, but it's surrounding in the inside. Now, if it's in the inside, what's it surrounding? So it's surrounding that inner light. So you have an inner light, which is there, and then there's its own surrounding light of that light, and it's still inside. And then you also have one outside. So there's 2 mekifim, if you want to look at it that way. And again, we'll learn more about it. He's just dropping it here in this lesson. Now it says, Asher li sibazo, because of this reason, nekra akudim. That's why it's called akudim. Why? Because again, from the word bound, melashon, like in Akedat Yitzchak, now the rabbi brings it here, even though we mentioned it. Vayakod et Yitzchak beno, that Abraham bounded up his son Yitzchak. Again, like all in one, to bind it up and bound it up. Rotze lomar v'yikshor, meaning he tied it up again, but everything in one. Uchmo sheniba'er bezat Hashem, like we will explain, God willing. Aval ha'orot hayoter elyonim shel ha'oznaim v'achotem lo nitbareu bepasuk hazeh. But the higher lights, that is the ears and the nose, is not mentioned or explained in this pasuk. Either this vayakod is just a remez. Of course, Akedat Yitzchak was playing also on the highest levels of merit and tikkun. But even going back to the word akudim with the sheep, it's not mentioned higher worlds because kevan she'adayin lo nitgala bahem bechinat havayat hakeli, meaning we still didn't get revealed the idea of a keli, of a vessel, meaning there's no words yet. The vessels are the words, are the letters, meaning the 22 letters of the alphabet. So how can you talk about something if there's no letters yet? That's the idea. So just, of course, you could still romez it, you could still hint to it, like Hashem did by the word lavan, like we said, is like going to the top. But just to show another lesson that letters only start with akudim, so the Torah is going to only start explaining with letters from akudim and on. You see, it's like its own little lesson there, even though in another way there is a remez to ta'ak. You see, everything's alluded to in the Torah. And later down, with Hashem's help, we're going to explain the idea of nikudim and birudim. והנה בהתחבר אורות הפנימיים עם אורות המקיפים תוך הפה. When the two types of light, like we said, inner lights and surrounding lights, when they are attached to each other inside the mouth, again, that's why it's saying in the mouth, because these are the types that are all in the mouth. לכן בצאתם יחד מחוץ לפה קשורים יחד. Now it says lachen, therefore. So how does it fit the line here? So behitchaber in the beginning, you could say it means since these lights are attaching in the mouth, therefore, as they come out together outside the mouth and still attached together, hemakim umbatishim zebazeh. They hit and they strike one onto the other. Together, meaning. Umeben hakaot shelahem, and from these hittings of each other, mityaled havayat bechinat keli. The idea of keli is born. Again, these are ideas of zachar and nekeva. Again, the pinimi is the nekeva, and the makif is the zachar. So it's just saying how the vessels are made here, or one vessel. Meaning in the beginning of it, in the mouth, they were only behitchaber, attached. But because of that, they're so close, so when they went out of the mouth, also being close, over there they met and they hit each other. That's the idea. So out of the mouth is where they hit each other and made the vessel. But they were just somewhat attached from before. Now you could say the mouth is only one big mouth. But you could say the right side of the mouth is like the zachar, and the left side is the nekeva, the two lights again. And they came together, so that's why there's one mouth at the end. And just to get the word, batisha is called, a banging really is the idea. This in Kabbalah is how a vessel is made, when those two lights go through batisha. V'lachen nikra makom hazeh peh. Therefore, we're going to call this place the peh, the mouth. Not because it's a mouth or we have a peh, meaning it's peh hey. Why is it called peh hey, which is peh? Ki peh begematria samech gimel, sag. When you add it up, it adds up to not 63, which is sag. Peh is 85, so how do you get that? Because it says it's begematria sag ve kaf bet otiyot. You have to add the 22 letters, which is coming out of the mouth, and that, with the word sag, make up the word peh. So again, each part of the Sag HaKlali, the big sag, which we talked about in the beginning, the ear added up to sag, but it had to -5 to show it's like a little hay there, like the star. And the nose was right on, and it added up to 63, the chotem. And now the mouth is going to add it up in its way by adding 22 letters to show that from the mouth's level, we're getting kelim, which are the letters. And it says, V'hine bechinat ha'otiyot hem ha'kelim kenoda. Like we just said, these letters are the kelim. V'lachen nirmaz bapeh shem sag ve'od kafbet otiyot. So it's hinted in with the name sag, with the 22 letters, to make up again the word peh. Lirmoz al ma shenitchadesh b'makom hazeh, to show that what new thing came out of this place, hazeh. Inyan havayat hakelim is the idea of the making of the vessels. Shenitgaleh bekan al yidei kafbet otiyot, which is revealed here by the 22 letters. So again, just showing how it adds up to sag in its own way. Now, what's very interesting is these few points. We always said, Av sag ma ben, that's keneged, eyes, ears, nose, mouth, even though the eyes we didn't talk about it. That's going to be later in Nikudim, by the way, will be the eyes. And above the eyes, we said we're not ever going to talk about the head with the hair. That's already really off limits. Now, we said tanta, ta'amim, nikudot, tagin otiyot. So if you make all the matchup of all these names, like we know, the peh level is the last level, which is like the malchut, like Eliyahu Navi, in Patach Eliyahu Navi, peh malchut, because peh is the malchut, is the ben, which is the bottom part. And that's the ot, the letters, like in the tanta. So that's perfect, because from the mouth is coming the ot. The ots are being made, the otiyot meaning. So everything's on its right level, showing all that. And these are, of course, the letters of the Torah. So the letters of the Torah are starting now to show themselves on this level. And again, that's why we said by Yaakov, it started with the word akudim. Now, if you look at Sefer Yetzirah, chapter 2, paragraph 3, it says like this: Esrim u'shtayim otiyot yesod, 22 foundation letters. Now remember when we said Ashrei Yoshvei Beitecha and Tila David, it's going in Aleph Bet and it corresponds to Yesod. Here it says Yesod. Now even though we just said Malchut is the letters, but again, Be'erech, everything's Be'erechin in relation to this or that. In this way of looking at it, the letters do correspond to Yesod, because it's like the foundation of everything. But again, don't let the difference of Erechin confuse you. So it says like this: these letters, Chakekan Bekol, he engraved them with voice. Chatsevan Beruach, he carved them with breath. We're going to see about the breath, in the mouth. Kave'an bapeh, he set them in the mouth, in 5 places, b'chamisha mekomot. And this is how the 5 places are. The mouth is divided into 5 things. They call them motzeot hapeh, what comes out of the mouth, like the phonetics. There's 5 phonetic families or groups. And it comes out, and all the letters fit in each one. So it's like this. Bagaron, which is the throat, it's Aleph, Chet, Hey, Ayin, because you need the throat for it to go ah. Now, they make a word out of it. Ha, just to say it fast, is Begaron. Gichak, which is those letters, is Bechech, which is the palate. Datlanat is the Belashon, is the tongue. You need the tongue, like the Lamed, to say le and these other letters. Zasharatz b'shinaim, those letters of you need the teeth for them. And bumaf b'sfatayim is you need the lips for the bet and the mem. You see, you're going mem, me, beh. You need the lips for those. This is a whole study in and of itself, just of letters, and it's in many places in the Kabbalah and the Zohar, so just good to know it and have it under your belt. Also, the 5 families, phonetic families, they're called like this. The throat is the gutturals, the palate is the palatals, the tongue is linguals, the teeth is dentals, and the lips is labials. Again, you see these words in English commentaries, so at least you'll know what they're talking about. So the 22 letters are divided into these 5 parts of the mouth. Now that almost sounds like the 5 chumashim, which have the letters. So it does. See, all this is related. All this makes a story and makes a matchup and a setup. Now, when it's said in the Sefer Yetzirah, it also says right in the beginning. Here it said, Chakekan bekol, he engraved them. But in the beginning, it says Hashem, all the names of Hashem in 32 paths. It says Chakak Hashem, all the names of Hashem there, that he engraved the world. That's how it says. Now, why talk like that? Why say he engraved the world? Just say he made it. He snapped his fingers and it came out. Because again, it has to fit, the mashal has to fit what really happens, which is the nimshal. And we know he didn't snap his fingers and all of a sudden we popped up next to him. We said that's not possible. He can only work within himself. So that's the idea of the tzimtzum, that he engraved or took out a piece from within himself and he put us there. So that's the same. You'll see everywhere in the Kabbalah, they try and stick to the same model of story to show the creation because it has to fit what really happened. So you get a feel for all these mashal words. They all complement each other, and it tells one story at the end. And again, the real chakak is the finger puppet. He turned the finger part of himself, again, everything kevayachol, so to speak, into us. Because again, he didn't really take something out. When you engrave, you chisel pieces out, but nothing really left. He just kind of made that spot of him into us. And we have to now recognize that he is us, and we're not who we think we are. And what else was chakak engraved? The luchot, the tablets, which has the 10 commandments, which is like the 10 sefirot, model of it. And that's like the creation of the world. So even the luchot that are a model of how creation was made, it has the same theme, that it was engraved, not just written on. You see? So it's all the same thing. If God would write on something, it means he added to the word, to what was there. And he was there. You can't add to him because he's in the way again. He's everywhere. So you can't make the luchot look like you took reality and existence and added something on it with ink. There's no room for an addition. So you can only take away from it. You can only take away and make something that way. It's almost like you can say there's 2 ways to make an elephant if you have a paper. You can write it, draw one, but then you're adding ink. Or you can cut it out of the paper. Make a cutout. So this way you didn't add, but you can only work with the paper. So if you have to cut it out and make your elephant that way, that's the only way you're able to do it. And that's the way Hashem did it. So he chakak the world, he mitzamtzem himself from the world. All these words and all this story is how it happened. Of course, we don't really know how to picture it still, but however it is, these are the words that the rabbis gave us to show still the mashal and the nimshal. And we continue. Vehine min hapeh hazeh. And from this mouth, meaning this section called the mouth, yatzu asara orot pinimiyim v'asara makifim. Again, like the ears and the nose, you have the 10 inner lights and surrounding lights coming out. Of course, they're all coming out of one mouth because they touched. V'nimshachim, and they're being drawn forward out. mekeneged panim ad hatibur shel ze hadam. And it's going from the face, really from the mouth part of the face, to the belly button, like we said, that's a tibur. And if you remember, the ears went to the shibolet hazakan, the chin, and the nose went to the chazeh, the chest, and now this is coming to the belly button. Now it's just good to reference to know that when we said worlds within worlds, where they overlap, so you're going to find all three of them overlap from the mouth to the chin. Since the mouth is the last one, it has to be from the mouth beginning and where the first one ended, which is the chin. So that little section, they're all in. And this is important to know for later. Just keep that in mind. Again, like wearing three types of clothing, each one overlapping in another way. Vezehu ikar ha'or. This is the main light. Again, what's coming down from the mouth. Aval gam ken hu me'ir derech hatzdadim. But it's also coming down, lighting up from the sides, v'chol tzibibot adam, and all around the adam, al derech hanizkar le'el be'orot ozen v'chotem. In the way that we described before, in the ears and the nose. Now here he says, me'ir, it's me'ir, where before he said the he'ara. We said one was the or, that's the ikar or the main or, and what's going in the back and all around was the he'ara. So here he doesn't say he'ara again. He figures we know it already. He's just saying it's me'ir, but that's a different, lower type of a light. Now, why is there light in the back of us? Of the Adam, of course, we just model it. Because this is the idea in Hashkafa, again, the Nimshal of Gilui Panim, when God reveals to himself to us, it's like from the front. And when he's in Hester Panim mode, where he hides, then it's like coming from the light from the back. That's just what these ideas are about. So it's, again, the setup of the whole Adam, showing the world, and because sometimes God works this way, sometimes God works that way. So this is the Kabbalah mechanism of those teachings. V'hine be'ozen v'chotem, in the ears and the nose, lo hayu rak shetei bechinot shel or, there was only two aspects of light. Even though it could have said hayu rak, there was only, that's how Hebrew is. Lo hayu, there wasn't only two aspects of light. Anyway, that's how the Hebrew goes. Vehem hapinimiyim v'makifim, the inner and the surrounding, like we know. Aval kan bapeh, but here in the mouth it's going to be different. Nichpelu habechinot, double. Kaful is double. There's going to be now 2 and 2. V'hayu shetayim shehen arba, 2, that's really 4. Taking again from the language of the Mishnah, like when it says Shabbat, the Melachot's 2, which is really 4, again, just playing on the phrase. Ki hinehem bechinat orot v'kelim. Because here we have the idea of 2 things. Now, there's lights and keli now. So again, that's why you have 2 things that's going to have 2 things each. V'ha'orot nechpelu besod pinimi umakif. The orot is doubled. That's going to be the secret of besod, of inner and surrounding. V'hakelim besod pinimi v'chitzon. And the vessels is of the secret of inner, again, and outer. Even though it says chitzon, it's really paralleling the makif, which is surrounding, which is on the outside. So 2 pinimis and 2 outsides. Now the cup has the vessel. You put the water, let's say, inside the vessel, so that's why it has an inside, and an outside is what's on the outside of the cup. Now, the light, even though it's just light, it also has these 2 ideas like we've been saying all along. There's also a pinimi and a makif. Now, we're just going to call the chitzon part, which is of the vessel, that different word. This way, maybe we differentiate it, even though the others are both pinimi. But that's how in these words of the Kabbalah they're termed. So we just go with it. Go with how the Arizal termed them. Now, the same way the outer light of the lights, the outer one was more important and was the zachar. So same thing with the vessel. What's outside is more important. You would think what's inside it. But the same thing, even though we said what's in our brain as a light, we would think is more important. But again, it's what's surrounding the head. All the things we've learned, there's more of it, like we explained. So really what's outside the cup, it's like there's unlimited amount that didn't go into the cup. It's already a givul, it's a limit and a measure. So that's why it's lower in its stature. So again, the makif and the chitzon go together, and they're the dominating one. They're the more important one. And the two pinimis work together as well. Now, ve'ele ha'arba bechinot, these four aspects that we were just talking about, two of light and two of vessel, hem bechinat gilui otam ha'arba alfin, hanizkarim le'el shayu bechotem. This is going to be the aspect of now revealing, or the revelation of these four aleph that we had. See, we didn't really know what they were doing. It was kind of premature, ready for the mouth. It was starting to come out, but now they're coming out. And that's really showing these four ideas, two of the lights and two of the vessel. That's what these four alephs are about, that were coming from the chotem. Ki ha'or avar v'nimshach derech penimiyut ha'adam hazeh. Because that light was passing through and going through the inside of Adam. V'yatza derech ha'peh shel Adam. And it was coming out through the mouth of the Adam. Like we said, now it's coming out as lights and vessels, and there's two and two. So that's why you have the alephs. And let's just say which ones are which. V'hineh hashtei alfin shetziyuran yod vav yod. The two alephs that have the shape with the two yods, which we said since it's Hashem's name, it makes 26. That's the higher one. So that's going to be the ones that correspond to the light, not the vessels, meaning. So these correspond to the light, and both the light. Hem pinimi umakif. Ushtei alfin shetziyuran yod vav dalid, and the two that have the dalid on it, which is on the bottom, which dal anyway corresponds to malchut, because we said dal, doesn't have poor man. So this is malchut is the keli. We always say malchut, the lady is the keli she receives from her husband. So it's so the dalit is perfect for being the spot of the keli. Hem shtei bechinot hakelim pinimi v'chitzon. And again, the two alephs is one for the pinimi and one for the chitzon. So that's the two shapes of the alephs. Now we have a little bit more of an understanding of what they're doing here. They're representing what's out now, which is the lights and the keli. Now, even though we said these alephs, you'll find them in Birchot HaNehenin, you find something about it in Birkat HaMazon. If you look in the Sidurim, not even the big Rashash one, but even the ones that have a little bit kavanot, they might have it there. If you look at the part of Hatov HaMeitiv, the fourth blessing, when it says Baruch Atah Hashem in the beginning of it, so there's a few things there, but one sentence here, it says, Bachol, in the weekday, Yechaven b'milui ot yod, you're going to think of the full spelling of the yod, the milui of a yod, the shem adanut of aleph, dalid, and nun and yud, meaning that yud of that name, you're going to spell it out to make the milui. So a yod is yod vav dalit. Now that's interesting because that's how you make an aleph, with the dalit. Now you're not really talking about the aleph here. That's why I said it's just a remez. You're really talking about it being a yod. See how interesting that the aleph with the dalit is really the milui of a yod, because it's those letters, yod, vav, dalit. That's how you make it. So here, the kavanah is to think about that. And in parentheses, it says, this is givurot. Givurot. Meaning, again, we know the dalit side is givurot, those alephs. And the yod side, or those aleph, are of the chasadim, chesed. And we know vessels have to do with malchut, and this fourth blessing is the ben, because it's av, sag, ma, ben, the other three blessings of Birkat HaMazon, from the top. Another idea, while we're talking about kelim now, coming out from the mouth, it's really the same light. It's just more dense and again further from the top, like we said before. But it's all the same light. And even at the level of the mouth in Akudim, it's still very fine and pure, so to speak, meaning if you compare it to things more below, like closer to our world. So even that's more fine. So all the kelim that's going to be made, it's really to get to our world. It's like it's going to be a tzimtzum after tzimtzum, degradation after degradation, in order to make our world. Because again, Hashem is making it all to get to us, so that we can have now a test situation down here. So the point is, when you look at your arm, let's say, that's a keli, which is really light, but on this level, on this dense level of our world is your arm and your whole self. You're really light, because everything's light at the end. So even what we think is so physical down here, it's all really light in its real essence. It just went down and down and down, that's all. It just went further away. But it's really the same thing. So you're a walking light of Hashem. That's how we have to think of ourselves, and even the whole physical world. Anyway, we continue here. Ve'elu ha'arba bechinot. These four aspects, hem atzman bechinat shtei ha'oznaim u'shtei nikvei ha'chotem shenitgalu kan bapeh. This is the idea of the two ears and the two nostrils that was being revealed here now in the mouth. Meaning before we talked about the two ears, and we got the yuds, and we took the two nostrils, and we said the light's coming out of them, even out of the ears and the nose, but it's coming out now through the peh. And as it's coming out now through the peh, which is the lower level of them, now all this or and keli is coming out. And the point of saying that is because if you notice, there's the two ears, the lights of them, of the holes of the ears, and two of the nose, the nostrils, make four. So that's showing really the idea and the place that it stemmed from, if you want to say, these four alephs. And as the next paragraph is going to say, each hole of the ears and the nose, each one having two, each one is an aspect of those four parts, which is two lights and two of keli. And we'll see how they match up here. Ki min ha'ozen yamin, because from the right ear. Now why say because? Because it's saying from before. It said these are aspects of these four bechinot, are the aspects of the ears and the nose, because, meaning or since, it comes out of them in this way. That's where the because is coming. But now before we read on, let's just try and guess. There's, we know the ear is higher than the nose. So we're going to call, obviously, the ear must be the light place, and the vessel place, we would think maybe is the nose. So you would say the right ear is the greater light, and the left ear is the lesser light, and then greater vessel and lesser vessel in the nose. Now, it's not that way. This is like it flips it on its head here, and we'll see what the arrangement is. But it's good to know what it's not, because we might have thought it was, and now you see why it's going to be this way. Ki min ha'ozen yamin nimshach ha'or. So already we know the right ear is the most chashuv, important place, because it's ear and it's the right. V'yatzad derech hapeh besod or makif. And again, it's coming out through the mouth in the secret of the or makif. Makif, again, is the greater light. So ear is greater and right is always greater. See, now we're having the aspect of right and left. So the rights are going to be the two lights, and the lefts are going to be the two vessels. That's how it's working. Umechotem yamin. See, now we're jumping to the nose, but the nose right. Nimshach ha'or v'yatsa derech hapeh or penimi. Coming out through the mouth again is now the lesser light. So we're still on light, even though we jump to the nose. But we're on the right side of the face. That's the point. Now we get to the left. Umin ozen simol, ear left, which is high on top. Nimshach v'nasa b'chinat chitzoniyot hakeli b'chutz lapeh. So now we're saying this is a keli, even though it's the ear, but since it's left, so it goes down a notch. So it's already the keli, but it's the higher aspect of the keli, which is chitzon, and b'chutz lapeh, out of the mouth. Umechotem small, and from the left part of the nose, which is the lower part, nimshach is drawing and coming, v'nasa penimiyut hakeli, is being the inner part of the keli. So the two Yud Aleph are on the right, and the two Dalet Aleph are on the left. That's how this is working over here. So that's how the four are arranged. Now, we know this because if you remember from the beginning, we talked about the kav, the line, and besides the line didn't go down vertically all the way, it also didn't horizontally fill up all the space as it's going down. It was only like a little pipeline, not the whole the whole horizontal meaning. Now, why was that? Because we needed right and left in the Sefirot system, and here's why. We have the right side of our face, or the world, and the left side, like we put on our right shoe first. There's halachot for this. The Kohanim lift their right hand over the left. All this to do with right and left. So right always is more dominant than the left, and this is where this is playing out. And that's why the Kav had to do what it did in order to make all these aspects. So we have up and down, left and right, and front and back. Now, ve'elu ha'arba bechinot nechnesu bapeh, and these four aspects entered in the mouth. Now, we just said things came out of the mouth. Why are we talking now about what's in the mouth? So again, the rabbi is just backtracking to show the shoresh of where it came from. There's also an aspect of four in the mouth, even before it came out. Or some even say, even after it came out, there's still things left in the mouth, which is these things that we're familiar with. Ki hineh bapeh, because what's in the mouth, yesh, you have bechinat hevel ubechinat dibur. You have breath and speech, meaning that's what's in our mouth. When you're going to make a letter, the letter comes out, but before it comes out, you have these things really inside. And now we're going to divide and make the four boxes with these. V'hineh ha'hevel hu bechinat ha'or, v'hadibur hu bechinat ha'keli. So the hevel part, because it's more chashuv, so it's going to be the more important thing, which is the light, and the dibur, which is the more like a concrete thing, so it's getting less zach, the opposite of that, more achur, more dense, so to speak, hu bechinat ha'keli. So again, we're dividing again, making or and keli, now with the hevel and the dibur. Always breath comes first, because before you're going to even say anything, you have to breathe it. So the breath is like more of an overall general thing that helps form the word, and then the word is formed. Now the truth, it doesn't mention here, but that's why when we were reading from the Sefer Yetzirah, it said something about the breath, and we said we'll get to it, and it said about the call, the voice. There's really three things to speak. There's hevel, there's kol, and dibur. First you have the breath, then you have voice. Voice could just be ah, but then you turn that ah into a word. So again, the kol, the voice, is lighter also than the dibur, than the actual speech. So that's the order, hevel, kol, dibur. Here we're not interested in the kol, because we just want to talk about the two things, because we're going to show it's an aspect of the or and the keli. You only need two things, and then we're going to divide it to make, again, the four boxes. Now, this is what's inside the mouth. Before we talked about what came out of the mouth, Now we're just showing the 4 boxes inside the mouth. So it works this way as we continue. V'hinei yesh bapeh hebel v'dibur. So in the mouth you have hevel and dibur. Now there's elyonim, top ones, belechi ha'elyon, in the top cheeks, or like the jaw, the top part of it. Don't look at cheek left and right, although we're going to get to that, but just the top part of the mouth. And then vehevel v'dibur, the 2 things, tachtonim, belechi ha'tachton, the 2 bottom hevels and dibur, which is in the bottom part of the mouth. Now it says v'nimsa, now we want to make 4 boxes out of them. It comes out ki ha'hevel ha'elyon, that's the highest of all 4, because hevel is higher than dibur, and the high part of the hevel is the highest part. So that's the highest of the 4 boxes. Hu or makif. Again, the or makif is the highest of the 4, because it's or and it's makif. Now v'hatachton hu or pinimi. Again, now we're going down, but it's down being on the right side. That's what we're going to find out. The lower part is the or pinimi. Now the dibur is going to be also on the left, going up and down. So ha'elyon kli chitzon. Again, chitzon is the more chashuv because it's on top. V'atachton, the bottom, hu kli pinimi, keli pinimi, is the inner keli, which is the lowest of the 4. And now the rabbi summarizes, v'ha'orot shehem ha'havalim, the lights that are the breath, hem bimin hapeh, that's on the right side of the mouth. That's, I could say, the cheek, the right cheek, and the left, up and down. V'adiburim shehem hakelim hem bismol hapeh. And the diburim, which is the kelim part, this is on the left part of the mouth. So again, showing the 4 boxes in this way. And again, whatever's on the right side is the aleph with the yud, and the aleph of the dalet is on the kelim side. Now again, all this, we may not know why we need it, but it's all the building blocks of what's also coming later, and building up, showing the gilui of this big Adam Kadmon as it's going further down and further down until we're finally going to get to our world. And of course, see charts in different books of Otzrot Chaim or Etz Chaim, many picture books in color and black and white, and you'll see how they map it all out and they box it all up. Also, just to recap, the first part when we said about the ear, just remember there were 4 holes, 2 in the ear, 2 in the nose, so we were making the 4 out of those. And then the mouth itself has 4, so we were doing really the 2 ears and the 2 nose, and then the mouth we were just dividing into 2 and 2. So just to see what we were playing with and what we were doing, even though everything was coming out of the mouth, but it was starting in the ear and the nose. And also, not to confuse you, although this will, even though we said the Otzrot Chaim comes from the second version of the Etz Chaim, it doesn't always match up. Sometimes there's a few words that's different. Like this is another example. Besides saying the upper part of the mouth, the breath and the speech, in the Etz Chaim part, it's said that it's referencing the Chokhmah and the Gichak part of those letters. And then the lower breath and speech is about Binah, and it's the Achha letters. But again, just to know that if you want to look it up, it has a little bit more information, but don't worry about too much right now. Again, just take the most overview that you can, and that's good enough for now.